The political landscape in Israel is fraught with tension, a palpable sense of unease that permeates the air. The nation stands at a crossroads with its future hanging in the balance. The calls for Prime Minister Netanyahu's resignation are growing louder by the day. Citizens from all walks of life are taking to the streets, their voices united in a chorus of dissent. The discontent is not limited to a single demographic, it spans generations and political affiliations. His handling of the recent geopolitical crisis has come under intense scrutiny. Critics argue that his decisions have not only failed to de-escalate tensions, but have also exacerbated the situation. Political analysts dissect his every move, debating the implications on national and international stages. The pressure is mounting, casting a shadow over his leadership and the future of the nation. Netanyahu appears increasingly beleaguered, his once unassailable position now seemingly vulnerable. The Israeli flag at half-mast serves as a somber reminder of the lives lost and the stakes involved. The recent escalation in violence has shaken the Israeli public. Incidents of unrest and conflict have become alarmingly frequent, leaving communities in a state of fear and uncertainty. Emergency responders are stretched thin, their presence a stark indicator of the ongoing turmoil. Many believe that Netanyahu's policies have exacerbated the situation. Graffiti and protest signs reflect the growing sentiment that a change in leadership is not just desirable but necessary. The blame is squarely placed on Netanyahu's shoulders, with critics arguing that his approach has been both divisive and ineffective. They argue that a change in leadership is necessary to salvage the peace process. Peace rallies have sprung up across the country with demonstrators calling for a new direction. The hope is that fresh leadership could bring about a renewed commitment to peace and stability. Protests have erupted in the streets, demanding accountability and a new direction. Netanyahu, however, remains defiant. The streets of Israel are alive with the sounds of protest, a testament to the public's demand for change. Yet, amidst the clamor, Netanyahu stands firm, unwavering in his resolve. He insists that his government is acting in the best interests of Israel. In press conferences and government meetings, Netanyahu maintains that his actions are guided by a commitment to the nation's security and prosperity. He portrays himself as a steadfast leader in turbulent times. He has vowed to stay in power and see the crisis through to its end. His supporters rally behind him, convinced that his leadership is crucial for navigating the current crisis. Netanyahu's speeches are filled with promises of resilience and determination, but the question remains, at what cost? The uncertainty weighs heavily on the minds of many Israelis. As the sun sets over Jerusalem, the nation's future seems as uncertain as ever. The cost of continued conflict and division is a burden that the country may not be able to bear. The stakes are incredibly high, and the consequences of failure are dire. The military presence in the streets and the constant stream of news updates serve as a reminder of the gravity of the situation. The nation watches, anxious and hopeful, as events unfold. The international community watches with bated breath. World leaders and international organizations are closely monitoring the situation, aware that the implications extend far beyond Israel's borders. The global stakes are high, and the pressure on Israeli leadership is immense. The situation is volatile, and the potential for further escalation is real. Clashes between protesters and police highlight the volatility of the current climate. Each confrontation carries the risk of further escalation, making the need for a resolution all the more urgent. The coming days and weeks will be critical in determining the fate of Israel and the region. The decisions made in the near future will shape the trajectory of the nation and its place in the world. As diplomats convene and leaders deliberate, the eyes of the world remain fixed on Jerusalem, waiting to see what the future holds. Within the fortified walls of the Israeli Security Cabinet, a chilling fear took hold. The recent conflict, while seemingly a victory, had exposed a terrifying possibility: the rise of a jihadist state. This fear was not unfounded. It was rooted in the chaos engulfing the region. Intelligence reports painted a grim picture. Extremist groups, emboldened by the turmoil, were gaining ground. Their ideology, a toxic blend of religious fervor and violent extremism, was spreading like wildfire. This was a clear and present danger to Israel's security. The cabinet members understood the gravity of the situation. A jihadist state on their doorstep would be a nightmare scenario. It would mean a perpetual state of war, a constant threat of terrorism, and an unraveling of the regional order. They knew that decisive action was needed to prevent this from happening. The question was, what action to take? Military options were on the table, but they carried immense risks. Diplomatic solutions seemed elusive given the volatile political landscape. The cabinet was faced with an impossible choice, a dilemma with no easy answers. Netanyahu and his government. Netanyahu, facing mounting domestic pressure, found himself caught between Trump's demands and his own security concerns. Years to come. In a strategic move that sent shockwaves through the region, the Israeli military initiated a redeployment to the Golan Heights. This decision was not made in isolation, but was part of a broader strategy to secure Israel's northern borders. The Golan Heights, a region of immense strategic importance, has always been a focal point of military and political maneuvers in the Middle East. This strategic plateau overlooking Syria had been a source of tension and conflict for decades. Its elevated terrain provides a commanding view of the surrounding areas, making it a critical military asset. The Golan Heights has seen numerous conflicts, from the Six-Day War in 1967 to the Yom Kippur War in 1973, each time proving its strategic value. This move signaled a significant escalation of Israel's involvement in the Syrian civil war. The Syrian conflict, which began in 2011, has drawn in numerous regional and international players, each with their own interests and agendas. Israel's redeployment to the Golan Heights is a clear indication of its intent to protect its interests and counter any threats emanating from the chaos in Syria. The decision to reinforce the Golan Heights was not taken lightly. It involved extensive deliberations at the highest levels of the Israeli government and military. The potential risks and benefits were weighed carefully, with the ultimate goal of ensuring Israel's security and stability in a volatile region. It was a calculated response to the growing instability in Syria and the perceived threat from Iranian-backed forces operating within its borders. Iran's influence in Syria has been a major concern for Israel, as it views Iranian presence near its borders as a direct threat. The redeployment to the Golan Heights is a proactive measure to counter this threat and maintain a strategic advantage. Israel had long maintained a policy of non-intervention in the Syrian conflict, but this latest development suggested a shift in strategy. The changing dynamics of the Syrian war, coupled with the increasing presence of hostile forces near its borders, necessitated a more assertive approach. This shift marks a new phase in Israel's defense policy, one that prioritizes preemptive action to neutralize threats before they materialize. The Golan Heights, captured from Syria in the 1967 Six-Day War, provided Israel with a strategic buffer zone. This area has been under Israeli control for over 5 decades, serving as a protective barrier against potential aggressors. The historical significance of the Golan Heights cannot be overstated, as it has been a key factor in Israel's defense strategy since its capture. From this vantage point, the Israeli military could monitor and, if necessary, interdict enemy movements within Syria. The high ground of the Golan Heights offers unparalleled surveillance capabilities, allowing Israel to keep a close watch on developments across the border. This strategic advantage is crucial in maintaining situational awareness and responding swiftly to any emerging threats. The redeployment was a clear message. Israel would not tolerate any threat to its security, even if it meant taking a more proactive role in the Syrian conflict. This move underscores Israel's commitment to defending its sovereignty and protecting its citizens from external dangers. The presence of Israeli forces in the Golan Heights serves as a deterrent to potential aggressors and a reassurance to the Israeli populace. This move was met with a mix of apprehension and condemnation from the international community. While some countries understood Israel's security concerns, others viewed the redeployment as an unnecessary provocation. The international response highlights the complex and often contentious nature of Middle Eastern geopolitics, where actions are scrutinized and reactions are swift. Some viewed it as a necessary step to counter the Iranian threat, while others saw it as a dangerous escalation that could further inflame the region. The divergent opinions reflect the broader geopolitical divide, with different stakeholders having varying perspectives on the best course of action. As the situation continues to evolve, the Golan Heights remains a critical flashpoint in the ongoing struggle for influence and security in the Middle East.